This is the L.I.P. Extra. Hey there, I'm Ryan from Positive Athlete, and welcome into another awesome episode of the L.I.P. Extra. Today we have an episode devoted to coaching and school culture, and our host Scott Peterson spent some time with our good friend Kelli Smith, the athletics director over all of Henry County schools here in Georgia. Kelli has been an unbelievable example of a positive coach, athletics director, and now county athletics director for over 30 years, and has won awards like the Georgia Athletic Coaches Association Coach of the Year. You'll love to hear what she has to say about how you can promote a positive school culture in your school, no matter if you're a coach, teacher, or an AD. So let's jump into episode 8 of the LIP Extra.
Well, we're joined this afternoon with Kelli Smith, the coordinator of athletics for Henry County Schools in Georgia. And that's Henry County has 10 high schools in that organization. So Kelli, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. You know how I feel about positive athletes, and when you guys contact me anytime, I am there.
Well, you've been very supportive of what we've always done, and just one of our favorite people. And so, you know, today's episode, what we wanted to do was, I've often said to you that if I could clone Kelli Smith and put her all over the country, I would do that. And so, but you have this 30-year history of coaching and teaching and in the high school world. Take us a little bit about your story so people can know a little bit more about who you are.
Well, I've got to be honest, I knew that I was going to be an educator from a very early age. To take you way back, I used to line up my dolls and stuffed animals and teach them. You know, they were a captive audience, and they learned many, many things from me. But
Sure.
as I got into middle school, high school, I really started to notice the relationships that could be built with your teachers and your coaches. And I was completely enamored with that. And people saw something in me and gave me opportunities. We built deeper relationships than even what you can build in the classroom through athletics. And the very first time I stood under those Friday night lights as a 13-year-old trainer, manager for the football team, I was hooked. And I just knew that I needed to follow in that career path so that I could be like those people that have poured into me. And let them be a part of my history. And also, you know, just being able to influence young people. I wanted to be able to do that. Where I am now is a direct result of people believing in me. And I think that's all kids need, is someone who believes in them and gives them challenges and opportunities.
Yeah, and you've kind of gone, you've been through the system. So, you know, you've coached, you've been an athletic director. Now you're taking on this new county athletic directors for these 10 schools. So what is it that gets you out of bed and just say, you know, I can't wait to attack this day? And each you know, because those are all very different kinds of positions.
Well, as I mentioned, you know, in the response just prior, it's those people that poured into me. And, you know, approach every day as an opportunity to pour into someone else. And I truly believe that people do wake up each day, you know, to tackle that day. And some of it is, you know, it may be a heavy load that they're carrying. And if you can be a positive influence in their life, then you may get them through that day and make them seek to be better or to the next one. And so, you know, having an opportunity, you know, in the classroom as a teacher, those kids are assigned to you. And so, you know, to some degree, they're stuck with you. And so you have to make that the best experience for them possible. The same thing goes with kids on a team. When you coach them, you don't always connect with every single one of those kids. I mean, different personalities either clash or they mesh. And, you know, you have to work very hard to find out what makes that child tick. And not only that, but to find out what they need. Mm-hmm. And if you can find out what a person needs to feed their soul, then you can capture them and grow them. And I don't see that any different from the classroom. And I was an exceptional education teacher. I taught students that had learning disabilities and behavioral disorders, and just being able to be a part of their lives. Trust me, they taught me way more than I ever taught them. And I approached each day in that manner. What am I going to learn today for them? And it was always an adventure. But, as a coach, in the same fashion. And then I've taken that also to leading adults and working with people. I don't want to tell them how to do something. I want to work with them so that they can problem solve and figure things out and grow on their own. And, that grows me as well. So I take that same approach, no matter if I'm teaching a kindergartner, a high schooler, coaching a high schooler, middle schooler, or working with adults. It's all the same. People want to know that they're supported. They want to know that you believe in them. They want to know that they have potential and that they have the support, the knowledge in place to carry out whatever the mission is.
Yeah, we've and that's what we've noticed so much about the time, especially when you were at Union Grove, and the culture you set there, and how culture was so important to you, because it's, although you do all of those things, it sets a culture for your staff. It sets a barometer for your kids. Tell me why culture was so important for you, in your time as an athletic director.
Well, any task that you're charged with, whether you're a student in a classroom, an athlete on the field, a leader in a school, a teacher, whatever your job is, there's a set of standards and compliance that must be achieved. And so if you focus only on that set of standards or that compliance mode, you miss out on so many opportunities to grow and develop. You're just checking boxes, and I'm definitely not. I do check the boxes because I am very much about compliance, but I think that it's very important for people to understand why. Why are you here? Why are you doing this? Why do we want you to do this work? Where's this going to take you? Always have that mission, and so just looking at things as opportunities and being prepared for opportunities. Because sometimes the doors are wide open, you walk past 6 of them because you're not ready for that opportunity. So, imparting that on anyone that you work with, that you have to be constantly prepared. And that preparedness might come in the form of physical preparedness or emotional or intellect-based knowledge. And so as long as you are constantly prepping your mind for what do I want to do next? What step do I need to take next? Then when those opportunities present, you're ready. And so if you can get a culture built of that type mentality, then you check the boxes quickly and you grow the relationships and you can do incredible things.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that probably is really even challenged. Not that there aren't a lot of other kinds of challenges in 2020 with this pandemic, but I would suspect that all of those things have to really come into place when you have a pandemic, when you have something like this that is altering every coach's plans, every athletic director's plans. Talk a little bit about what you've had to do, or what the steps you took to help encourage some of those athletic directors at those schools. Is that, hey, this is the situation, and how are you going to get through it?
That's a great question. And honestly, I had coaches coming to me very early on when we were just in the practice stages, when we had just brought athletics back on campus, and they were the only persons that had been on campus really since March and the shutdowns. And so when we brought them back on campus, I had coaches saying, why are we doing this? Are we going to even get through to play a game? Are we going to get through to play a season? Are we going to finish our season? What's this going to look like? And of course, no one can make that call in any given time on any given day. 5 minutes from now, I could tell you something entirely different than what I just told you. So what I really tried to impress with those coaches was the opportunity versus the obstacle approach. So we could sit here all day and we could discuss every known obstacle, and that we might not play a game, that we might not play a season, that we might get shut down because we've had positive cases, all these different things. But if they look at every single day that they spend with their athletes as an opportunity, then it overshadows those obstacles, and it really lends them to the positive aspects of being a coach. And the things that we might in a regular season take for granted, the little things that really make that culture of your team so important to your success. You don't always measure the success of your season by stats and scoreboard. It's the meshing and the melding of the personalities and affording those opportunities. And so really trying to impress upon the ADs as they talk to the coaches and to the coaches themselves that it's all about opportunity, and every day spent with athletes is a day well spent.
And of course, here at Positive Athlete, we're always looking for the positive in things. And so what have you, through this process, what are some of the positive things you've seen come out of even this wall, this very tough situation we've been? What kind of positive things have you seen?
You guys do focus on positives, and that's why we get along so well, and that's why I like you guys so much. We're like-minded in that way, and really just turning towards those things that we had to resort to stay connected with our communities, which was a heavy presence in social media. So I've seen athletic directors really develop that in touch connectedness with their communities by highlighting coaches, by highlighting athletes, by celebrating the small things that they might have otherwise overlooked. And, many of those things that we might have taken for granted, they've really capitalized on to stay connected with their communities. We do have 10 high schools in our district, but we also have 11 middle schools. And so the 21 schools that we have participating in athletics right now have really sought to connect with their communities that right now range from having only about 25% of the students actually back in the school buildings to some schools as much as 75%. So we still need a lot of external connectivity with our communities because we have limited capacities at sporting events. And, we need to find ways that we can connect outside of people just being face-to-face. And our folks have done an excellent job of using those opportunities. They've also done an excellent job of just really drilling down into those relationships and making sure that those students whose families weren't comfortable with them coming back and being a part of athletics this year or being back in their classrooms, they're still remote learning, that they were able to connect with them and say, you know what, you still matter. You're not on my team right now, but you matter to me and I care about you, and being that bridge for those teachers that aren't having those kids in face-to-face instruction, that are having to rely on those relationships. So, I've seen tremendous positive things. And just knowing that we're getting to do this is probably the most positive of them all. We have spectators at our events. We have athletics going on. And as we saw other systems shut down and not come back or come back very slowly, I'm very thankful that we've had those opportunities, and our coaches and ADs are as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things that we've noticed in some conversations we've had with our corporate partners, and we get into this, what do we do about being involved in high school sports now? Because are they playing? Are they not playing? But one of the things about Positive Athlete, we've kind of found it's COVID proof in the mm-hmm. fact that those kids are all part of teams. They're still, whether they're playing or not, they're still part of those teams. And Positive Athlete's never been about the statistics, and it's been more about, hey, what have you overcome? How have you given back? And you've seen that over the last several years of being involved with Positive Athlete. And so what is the common theme that you see of all these kids that you've had nominated over the year? What's the theme that you always kind of come out of it and saying, with the kids and the amazing stories that you've heard?
I think for the most part, and not only the kids that I've seen come out of Union Grove, but Henry County schools in general, because I always follow the stories, as you guys have done a great job utilizing social media and sharing out their stories. And then, of course, being at your event, which I call it Tear Fest, 20 whatever, because it's so inspiring. And those kids, the common thread is that you don't really know what they've gone through. They don't make it apparent. they do well in spite of their circumstance. They're not asking for, oh, woe is me, look at me at all. They're usually blown away with the nomination. They're thrilled with the nomination alone. And then when they're selected for, as a regional winner or as a state winner or scholarship winner, they're truly humble. And, that I know that that's not by accident. That as those coaches nominate those kids, they nominate them for various reasons. Perhaps they're the best bench sitter they have, and they bring something to the team that all-star kid on the team doesn't bring. But as you guys vet those nominations and really read those stories, you pull out that. It's like you can see that window into their soul, and because that is recurringly what I see when I see those winners revealed at all the regional levels and the statewide winners, is that they're just so incredibly humble and just truly emulate that positive spirit in spite of all the difficult things that they've overcome. And I think the word key there is overcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And we see that on a daily basis when they come through into our nominations, and we're always inspired. And we always think every year, they can't possibly be better nominations as they were last year. And every year we go, oh my gosh, here's a story that needs to be told. So when as an athletic director, though, you have a lot of organizations that come to you and say, I want to do this. I want to put a character program in. I want to do this. I want to do that. How do you kind of vet something like, the positive athletes of the world, when they come to you and say, we would like to have this program inside your school? Because you have to be hit by a variety of different organizations that would like to be involved with the high school in some way.
I think the probably key here, Scott, is that your organization doesn't ask for anything. It's not a paid membership. It's not a paid service. Any of those things. It is entirely about recognizing the positivity that can be athletics in a child's life and help them overcome those difficulties. And so, those type things, like your organization that truly seeks to find those incredible kids out there and highlight them and spotlight them and give them a pat on the back and say, you know what, good job. You did this. This is all about you, and not ask anything in return. That completely and entirely sold me. The first event that I went to, as I said, I call it Cheer Fest, whatever. Not to say that it's anything short of wonderful, because it is incredible, an incredible experience. But I was completely and utterly hooked after attending that first state event. But just in general, when you guys come in and you talk to us and you share what your program seeks to recognize, I don't know how anyone couldn't get on board and couldn't be inspired by helping you to find those kids that truly need that recognition. And honestly, I really feel like it makes a difference in their life. It could be a turning point for them, that somebody noticed the struggle that they had endured and recognize them for the efforts that they took to overcome it.
I know that you always encourage all your coaches to do nominations, and you do several nominations yourself, but you've also encouraged parents to nominate kids. And oftentimes parents either feel discouraged about it or well, I don't know if I should do that. Am I just being a rose-colored glasses parent about my kid? But we've always seen those, we always call them here love letters. It's a love letter to your kid to say, I see what you're doing. I appreciate who you are. And why, but sometimes schools get a little nervous about letting parents in that realm to be able to do it. What would you advise a school in terms of saying, how can you feel good about allowing parents to also nominate the kids, not just your coaches?
Well, I think it's very important that the whole story of a child be shared and told, because the parent is privy to the innermost workings of a child's life. And even the coaches don't always know everything a child has endured. And they also, children can be very guarded with their own information and their own stories and not want to share those things, to the point where athletics and school is kind of their escape from their life. And they don't want others to know, they don't want them to pity them, or whatever the case may be. So when a parent shares those details, typically it is, with the permission of their child, or maybe it really needs to happen. As a parent, we are the major compliance monitors, right? So we're constantly telling them no, and we need you to do this, we need you to do that, and to actually, like you said, put it on paper so that a child can read those kind words that their parent shares, can be impactful in a different way than even when a coach does that. But as you know, what we've often seen is that when a parent does nominate, sometimes they nominate their own children, sometimes they nominate another child that they just know, and that they know that that child is worthy of that nomination. And sometimes almost simultaneously, the parent and the coach nominates the child. And, we've seen that with multiple nominations for a particular young person. And so I think it's incredibly important to open that to the community. I always sent that out to my teachers, because the teachers see kids in an entirely different way than even their coaches do. Maybe they've seen that kid be extra helpful in a classroom when they've struggled on their own in that subject, but they find ways still to connect with and help other kids. So I think opening it up is very important. Anytime kind words can be written and read from a child, that's going to make an impact in their life.
Kelli, you've had an opportunity to deal with a lot of coaches. And so we know that coaches are under a lot of pressure these days to win. And whether that's, maybe they feel like coming from above at the school level, maybe they feel it from the parents, just their own personal. How do you, when a coach is struggling, how do you create positive messages for that coach so that they can be their absolute best?
One of the things that I did as a coach was to recognize the needs of my team, to where when we were having a rough practice, I knew that, I had to stop in the tracks and shift gears. And so, that same message can be shared with coaches. We would be, as I was a cheerleading coach. And so, in a practice, when we're practicing stunts and tumbling, it can get quite intense if a stunt's not hitting or whatever. I would literally stop, and, I had this container of some kind of candy. It might be M&Ms or Skittles or whatever, but I called them power pills. And so we would stop and have a power pill moment. And you would be shocked at what, how that could turn the outcome of practice just by stopping and taking that moment, just a brief time out. And so I encourage my coaches in the same way to find those moments where they can just stop that intensiveness of the practice and find a way to connect with their team in that moment. That those practices usually end very well, because they recognize the frustration of themselves and of their players, and they turned it around. And, I always used to say, you have to end with a grin, because when that kid leaves your practice, they are going to carry the emotion of that moment with them the rest of the night. And, if they get in the car with their parent, or they get home after driving themselves home and they're frustrated and they're spewing that, whatever happened, that's what the parent is intaking. And then that parent develops that particular attitude or feeling, and then they may reach out to the coach, and then that further exasperates the situation. But if the coach can end a practice with some kind of activity that is positive in nature, then you can reset, and the next day you begin with that positive environment. And so I highly encourage my coaches to do that, to laugh, to not take it too seriously. I might break out into a silly game during practice just to break it up a little bit. because if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. And winning is very important. It definitely adds to that, as you mentioned, culture. When you have a winning culture, then a lot of the other things come much more easily to convince people of. But at the same time, that coach needs to understand their triggers and their breaking points, and to step back when they're getting close to that, so that they can keep things very positive in nature and be able to grow in that moment.
Kelli, thanks so much for. I got it back. I did a little pause there because we'll probably fit that question up into the body of this a little further. Okay. Kelli, thanks so much for taking the time to do this, and I hope that other athletic directors and coaches will listen to this, and they should put it on loop, because it's such great information, and you have such a wonderful positive attitude what advice would you give an athletic director who's trying to consider whether to be involved with Positive Athlete or not?
I can't think of enough reasons to be a part of this program, to give kids the opportunity for recognition, to give coaches the opportunity for recognition. I know you mentioned that I often write nominations myself, and will continue to do that. It makes me feel good when I hit that submit button, and I know that email is going to go to that recipient and they're going to read my words. That I seek for that to make a positive turn in their day. Just to know that someone feels that way about them. And so you can certainly improve the culture and climate of your programming by being a part of this and sharing their message, a Positive Athlete's message, within your school, within your community, and the recognition that it brings to your athletes and to your coaches is just immeasurable. It's absolutely incredible. So I can't imagine why you wouldn't. Go Positive Athletes.
Thank you, Kelli, and thanks for doing this. Good luck this year in Henry County. We know you still have lots of challenges to overcome, but we're very positive that you will do exactly that. You'll get everybody through, and everybody will be better. Thanks so much for who you are too, because you, like I said, we adore Kelli Smith here at Positive Athlete, and I'm sure that if other people would love to hear more and ask her about it, she'll always respond to an email or something to say, hey, how do I integrate this in my school? So Kelli, thank you so much.
Thank you. And the feelings are mutual. Anytime. Always a pleasure.